We're going to take a look at the collectibles in Superliminal. There's 69 fire alarms, 85 fire extinguishers, 8 constellations, 15 chess pieces, and 14 blueprints throughout the game. In the first level, there's 1 alarm, 1 extinguisher, there's a chess piece, and there's a blueprint, and there's no constellation to find. In level 2, Optical, there's 17 fire alarms, 15 extinguishers, 1 constellation, 2 chess pieces, and 2 blueprints. In Cubism, there's 14 alarms, 11 extinguishers, 1 constellation, 2 chess pieces, and 2 blueprints. In Blackout, there is 2 fire alarms, 12 extinguishers, 1 constellation, 2 chess pieces, and 1 blueprint. In level 5, there's 17 alarms, 15 extinguishers, 1 constellation, 2 chess pieces, and no blueprints. That's Clone, level 5. In Dollhouse, there's 7 alarms, 9 extinguishers, 1 constellation, 1 chess piece, and 3 blueprints. Labyrinth has 16 alarms, 20 extinguishers, 1 constellation, 2 chess pieces, and 3 blueprints. And the final level with collectibles is Whitespace, 1 alarm, 2 extinguishers, 2 constellations, 3 chess pieces, and 2 blueprints. Level 9 Retrospect has no collectibles. Once you get to Retrospect, you should have all the collectible trophies following this guide. The very first collectible you're going to come to is about 4 or 5 rooms into the tutorial area, Induction. You're going to take the cube, you're going to take one of these pieces of wood that's blocking that secret little room and make it big and make a ramp and come up here and find your first hidden chess piece. This is what it looks like when you collect them. There's not going to be any fire alarms or fire extinguishers until you get past this point right here with the giant cheese wedge that you have to use to knock down the wall. Take that cheese wedge and go through to the next hallway. That black area right there is actually a trap. You'll fall and fall to the ground. But in this hallway is your first fire alarm, which will give you a trophy, fire alarmist, and your first fire extinguisher. So take that cheese wedge, make it as big as you can, make a ramp, and head on up to the duct high above this area. And follow the duct so that you can make it over the big hole in the ground. That's where you'll fall to the end of the level. And then go into this hidden room here. Inside this room is your first blueprint. Now we're in the second level. Every time you start a new level, except for maybe the last 2, you're going to come to this lobby area. There's going to be an extinguisher and a fire alarm. So always make sure that you click on those 2. Further in to the level, there's going to be lots of hallways with fire alarms and extinguishers. That was to your left when you walk into this area. Then to the right, and then make a left and then a right, and you'll get to this fire alarm and extinguisher. That is the door that leads through to the next area, and right past it is another fire alarm. There's nothing over here. There's a fire alarm in this, extinguisher on this side and an alarm on this side. And then now you're going to head through this hidden wall and find the next fire alarm. Now you're going to come to a room that's kind of enclosed in this space. There is an alarm and an extinguisher as soon as you walk in. Then you have to take these tiny little directional signs and make them big. Use it as a ramp to get to over the right wall of the enclosed space. On the other side of the wall will be another blueprint. Head towards the exit, but before you do, make sure that you look at the far wall of the enclosed space. The back of it is an extinguisher.
Hello.
head through. Dr. Glenn Pierce will talk to you
about being special.
There'll be a fire alarm to pull here. Then we're going to head into the first room where we have to, of course, get that extinguisher first. Head to the right to the first room with these blocks that you have to make. There's an extinguisher there and the 10th fire alarm. So you'll get a trophy for pulling that one if you've gotten all 10 of the fire alarms that we've seen so far. Make the box. Use it to get up to the next area. As soon as you get in, turn around, fire alarm. Head into the room to get the next block. There's a fire alarm on this side and a fire extinguisher in the doorway when you walked in. You're going to get that block, you're going to turn it around, you're going to head up to this area. In this room, this is the room with the door that's painted on the wall that you have to turn into an actual door. There is an extinguisher and an alarm. Once you open that doorway, you don't necessarily have to bring this light with you, but underneath the stairs that you're going to climb to get to the end of the level is the next, or your first constellation. The way the constellations work is you have to look at the stars in the sky until they form the image that you're supposed to make. In this first constellation, it is a table. It's a little wonky, a little hard to get it just right, but the game does a pretty good job of allowing you to estimate where it is, and then eventually it'll say, okay, you did good enough, you got it. Then make sure to click on the image once it shows and fills in. Then you can head out. Using the door that we removed to enter this room, we're going to make this door as big as we can, and we're going to use it as a ramp on the top of the stairs. So I took the door, I tried to make it as big as I could. I'm angling it so that I can lift it once I get to the top of the stairs here. Some of these perspective shifts in order to make ramps and walkways to get to hidden areas are a little cumbersome. They're a little difficult. They take a little bit of trial and error. I'm looking around for other things, but there isn't anything else. At the top of this very long, very tall platform is our next hidden chess piece. So we're going to take this door, use it as a ramp to walk to the top. You can almost see it at the top of that platform. It's a little pink, I think a pawn perhaps. Once you have it, you're ready to move on. In a room or two, you're going to come to this large kind of warehouse room. There's going to be a painted block on the ceiling. You're going to use that block to get the giant chess piece that's along the wall to remove it so you can move on. Use both the block and the chess piece to climb up to this duct to get the next chess piece, the hidden collectible chess piece, that is. Then use the same block and queen chess piece to get up to this area here. Fire alarm on the outside of the doorway, extinguisher inside the doorway, and if you go further down that hallway, there is a chance for another trophy. It's one of the Inception token Easter eggs, but we'll cover that in a different video. Further progression will bring you to this room where there's an extinguisher as soon as you walk in, a fire alarm at the other end of the hallway. And in the next room, we're going to come to the room where you have to grab the moon in order to progress. There is one extinguisher in this room and 2 fire alarms hidden behind 2 chairs. We'll see them in just a minute. But first, grab the moon. On this moon, there are 3 things that you need. First, the doorway in order to progress to the end of the level, a block, and a piece of cheese. You can move the hallway out of the way. You'll use that later. Then what you need to do is make the block as large as you can. Here's the extinguisher. The fire alarms are on either side behind chairs, as I said before. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the block, make it as large as you can. Use the wedge of cheese to make a ramp so you can get to the top of the block. Then pick up the ramp of cheese and put it on top of the block in order to climb out one of the two open windows. Once you're at the top, as you can see, this is where we are now, you can use the cheese to get out the window, and all the way in the back of the roof area will be a blueprint. It's a little cumbersome. Oftentimes these secret areas are pretty hard to get to, and trying to maneuver some of these objects in order to make them into giant ramps or ladders or get you into areas that are a little difficult to get to gets a little frustrating, but stick with it. You'll get the hang of it. All the way in the back here is your blueprint. And then we're going to head back down through the window, down the ramp, make this tall enough that we can fit in it. And there's a fire alarm as soon as you walk in, and a fire extinguisher at the end right next to the elevator. This is the typical hallway you're going to see at the end of most levels. And then we'll be moving on to the third level, Cubism. We're going to come out, we're going to get the extinguisher and fire alarm that are in the lobby, as usual. We're going to keep going further in to where it gets a little darker, and as soon as you walk into this room, turn around. On your right, there will be a doorway to the next constellation. This time it's going to be a coffee cup. I removed some of the maneuvering in order to make it appear, just to save a little bit of time here in the video. There's a little bit of extra time here that probably could have been cut out as well. Some of this video is made with me kind of looking around for some of the harder to find extinguishers and fire alarms, because they are along your path and they can be easily missed. So I apologize if a little bit of the time is taken with me searching around. This was the first time I played the game on this account, but I was at least familiar enough to know where most of these were to begin with. There's the fire alarm. Then you're going to grab the die to get above this area. There's the die. I made it big enough, climbed up here, and at the end of the hallway here is that extinguisher that we already selected. Walk into the next room, hit the fire alarm. The die on the left here actually is two halves, and you can use both halves at different sizes to make 3 steps. What you want to do is you want to make it so that you can look inside the duct that is right above us here, right in that hole that you can see right now. So make this one as large as you can. One more time. And then up onto the seat, onto the first piece of die, and the second piece. And inside there is what looks like another queen chess piece collectible. Is it die or dice? I don't know what to say. So right there, you pick up that die and you will fall down into a kind of like underground area, but do not do that yet. Go further around and you'll get one more extinguisher and one more fire alarm. Then once you come to this area and you crawl out of the little basement area, use the die that we were just talking about on top of the soda machine and use it to jump across to select the next hidden chess collectible piece. Use these to make a step so you can get around, but I did forget to look behind me on my way in, and there is an extinguisher. In the next room, there is a fire alarm, and then walk up the steps and head to the right. There is nothing here on the left, just an extra bit of exploration, extinguisher, and then a fire alarm. Now in the next room, there are a bunch of dies that you can move up, down, left, right. What you want to do is you want to move them in this order and move this die here up high enough that you can get on top of it. And then the duct that's right above that on the wall can also be pulled out. And I'm going to pull it out as far as you can. On the top of this here is the next blueprint. Keep jumping, eventually you will be able to select the blueprint, get a little closer if you need to. And then I'm just going to jump back up just to verify that I did get it. But you'll always hear that kind of pencil scratching noise. And then put things the right way so you can progress through to the next room. Make sure that you get the extinguisher before you leave that room.
Reluctance to volunteer for the risks associated with explosive mental overload implies a misunderstanding of all other solutions.
And head on to the next area. These dice fall apart into panels. There's an extinguisher there, so get one of the flat pieces, make a ramp, and head on your way out. Get the fire alarm. This is one of those kind of frustrating perspective things. Walk into this room, get a fire extinguisher. There is a die on the right here. When you pick this die up, there's nothing else in here. When you pick this die up, it's going to fall apart into a bunch of little squares. What you're going to need to do is you're going to need to take one of these squares with you into the next area. I'm first of all making a bigger square so that I can get up to this area, but I'm also returning and I'm grabbing any one of these boxes. It doesn't really matter. It's going to change perspective a few times before you use it. Make sure to get the extinguisher that's right here. There is nothing else in this room, so remove the front panel of this die and make sure that you take this box with you on your way down, otherwise you will not be able to get to, I think it's 2 or 3 collectibles. So grab the die and bring it with you. You'll fall down here and then you will fall out of a die. Use this to climb to this area and then head to the left. There's a blueprint on the ground and just one extinguisher. So make sure you bring that with you, otherwise you won't be able to get to that area. There is a fire alarm on your way out, and there's nothing else in here. And then we have the elevator hallway. So of course, as soon as you get through this doorway here, turn around for the fire alarm and then head to the fire extinguisher. Sometimes I like to stop and look at what's written on the whiteboards. Sometimes funny references, sometimes little clues. And now we are in Blackout. Get the first extinguisher and the first fire alarm here in the lobby per usual, and then head over to the secret constellation room that's hidden inside the file cabinet. This one is a wheel of cheese. I take a little bit of time to make this happen. While this is formulating, I'm going to talk you through the next area. we're going to come to a very long hallway, and it's going to have 8 extinguishers in it, which is the majority of the extinguishers you're going to see in this level. Unfortunately, the lights are going to get turned off as you walk down the hallway, and there's 4 extinguishers on each side. I would suggest that you focus on one side. Here I'm on the right, and I'm going to hit all 4 on the right before the lights turn off. And then I'm going to show me replaying this level after I've already gone through it at a later time.
Hello,
and getting
my name
the
is
4
Dr.
extinguishers on the
and
left.
Despite touring the waterfall
You see
Serenity
some of these
Zone
I've
in
already
the previous
hidden.
section you've just
I've already
completed,
managed
you
to
may
get the
still be
first time.
experiencing feelings of
When they
worthlessness
splurt like
and
that,
self-doubt.
that means you've already
Why do I feel like
gotten
everything
them.
is going wrong, even when
But that
the
one
sun is
was
shining?
not collected earlier. I did some of these in the dark, but being this pitch black, as you can see, I finally got that last one there. Being in the pitch black, it's very hard to navigate, and there's a lot of open doorways and barriers. Here we are further out. This is right before you get to the giant hole in the middle of the room, so make sure you get that extinguisher. And then we went up, we walked in the dark, and we found that
Warning.
that area that was lit. And then once you come to the next room, there's an extinguisher. Then you're going to come to an area where you're going to be able to use one of these red directional signs, and then you're going to walk through these walls of cardboard. Use the directional sign to get as big as you can, make a ramp, and go to the second wall of cardboard at the top to get the next hidden chess piece.
Did you know that unintentional multi-dream layering occurs in less than 1%
And you're
of
going
patients?
to
This
start making your way
correlates
towards the
strongly
generator.
with the 99% of patients who are able to follow simple instructions from the standard
There's an
orientation
extinguisher right
protocol.
before you get to the large room with the generator in it. And then you're going to turn the generator on, the lights are going to be on. On both sides next to the generator, there's going to be 2 kitchens, and both kitchens are going to have a couple cans of beans. You're going to want to grab at least one of these and make sure that you take it with you, otherwise you might get stuck. There is ways to get out of both these sides, but on the left side for us right now, but it will be actually on the right side when you walk into the room in the darkness, there's a blueprint on the ground. And on the other side of the room, we're going to use the hand cart here to hop up, but we could use the beans also. But the open window on the left hand side, you want to use the beans to get all the way over here, and you want to climb to this window. And outside this window, there is an actual invisible floor here that you could walk on, but I'm being a little extra careful here because it took me a long time to use the beans to get here. But you want to inch yourself out or just jump down, and you should be able to select this pawn collectible chess piece. And then we'll be working our way to the end. Of course, here's the fire alarm and the fire extinguisher. Now we'll be moving on to the clone level. Here's your first extinguisher and fire alarm. After this set, you'll notice that some of the extinguishers and fire alarms, the color on them is a little different. They look a little bit salmon colored, pink or orange. And you have to be aware that some of them will look that way. They can blend into the walls if you're not too careful. Take this door with you. You're going to need that. I don't take it here, but that's the first extinguisher and the fire alarm. And then there's another extinguisher here and a fire alarm in that corner there. Kind of hard to see. But bring that door with you because you're going to need to use it on this button here. You see how that extinguisher blends into the wall, as well as the fire alarm here. So then once you get through that door, head to the right for the extinguisher here, another fire alarm. So that is your way to progress, but also walk back to this area here so that you can get this extinguisher and fire alarm. So do that very thing with the first door that we saw, so that you can get up and above and progress further. Then you'll eventually come to this room here. There's nothing here, but up here in the very tall duct is a hidden chess piece. So what you're going to need to do is grab the alarm clock, which is going to clone. You can make it bigger, and you can make many, many alarm clocks, and that's what you're going to need to do. The correct thing to do is to make a very neat series of steps, but what I did was I just made as many alarm clocks as I could until I climbed all the way to the top and could basically put my hand out and grab the chess piece. You can always hit L1 to make all of the clones disappear and return back to their original state, as that sign says right there. And then use the alarm clock the way that it's meant to be used to climb up to this next area. That's a perfect way to do that alarm clock there. But don't miss the extinguisher and the fire alarm that were in this room that we almost missed. Didn't realize it took so much time there looking at that alarm. I apologize. But then here we have a perfect amount of space to jump onto it and into the next area. Make sure to get the alarm and the extinguisher right inside, I should say, this doorway. The game does a really good job of making it easy enough that when you're on a platform, if you're a few inches away from making the jump, that it lets you have it. Makes it very easier. It makes it, well, not very, but it makes it a bit easier to progress in this game without getting absolutely frustrated with every single perspective shift that you need to do platforming wise. Here's the first of two rooms that involve cloning apples. Make sure that you get the extinguisher. And then clone this apple. There's another trophy that you can get in this room by making the apple land on your head, but we will look at that in a different video. And then once you get the largest apple to move off the button, you can head out, but before you do, make sure that you hit this alarm. I actually missed the extinguisher here. Oh no, I didn't, I'm sorry. This was me demonstrating what it looks like when you replay a level to see whether or not you got an extinguisher. And if you notice the little splurt that it gave me, it wasn't a full exhaustion of the extinguisher. It was kind of a sputter. In the next room here with this red apple, this was the one I actually missed the first time I played through the level. And you'll see the difference here in just a second. I also changed the alarm from making that annoying beeping to actual music. And see there? Now we've finally gotten that fire extinguisher. On both sides in these large kind of spaces, there are fire alarms on the double doors to the left and right. And then head on up to the top of the room, look back at the apple and make it clone so that it will land on the button. Kind of a neat little perspective trick they do here. Took me a couple minutes to figure this one out, but that's not tied to any collectible. Make sure you get this fire alarm, which is very well hidden in the wall.
Warning. Dr. Pierce is frantically submitting numerous spelling and grammar mistakes into the
getting
standard
close to the
orientation
end of the
protocol
level
in
here.
a desperate attempt to counsel you. I have no subroutine to correct
Now,
these errors,
here,
but I cannot
on this
compromise the
doorway,
integrity
there's
of the
a
standard
chair that's kind
orientation
of, don't
protocol.
miss this
You will not
extinguisher,
receive these
but it's kind of hard to see, but there's a
messages.
chair
They would
here.
not
You can
make
hop on
sense
top of this
regardless.
chair, and then the door itself, and then back on this duct here, and there's a little knight collectible chess piece. We're going to come into this room. There's an extinguisher here. And then when you get to the doorway, make sure that you hit L1 to remove all the extra signs you used to get up here so that you can hit this fire alarm. Into the next room with the fake sky wall. The extinguisher is on your left when you walk in. There's nothing over here. Then you're going to see another fire extinguisher. And then in this next room here on the left, there is a soda machine that actually dispenses more soda machines. Go around to the left side of it to find your next constellation room. And this one, strangely enough, is a soda machine. There's a lot of soda and soda machine gags and trophies in this game. I don't know what the developers were doing. I guess they were drinking a lot of soda making this game. I don't know. I'll be covering a lot of those soda trophies in another video. So we got the constellation. We can head out. On our way towards the elevator here, there's a fire alarm, fire extinguisher, and a fire alarm right next to the radio.
Hello. Name's
And then
Mike
head
Pierce,
to the
Dr.
left
Glenn.
room here
To the Somnosculpt Welcome Experience.
to the elevator. There's your standard fire alarm as soon as you walk in this hallway, and then fire extinguisher at the end.
Edge science with cutting, a tomorrow can bright. And buts, no ifs, or luck good.
Now we're on to the Dollhouse level. Before you walk into the room where the movie of Clouds is playing, make sure you come into this little area and get that fire extinguisher. Then walk into the room here with the screen, and before you walk through the double doors, head just to the right of it to find your next constellation room. I think this one's a chair, maybe? I don't remember what it is, to be honest. Yep, it's the chair. So the Dollhouse level is the most frustrating one as far as perspective, and especially on the speed run, which I'll be covering on a different video. Here's your first extinguisher and fire alarm. Once you get through those double doors, because at some points you'll be making the Dollhouse large enough that you can get into areas. There's the extinguisher as soon as you walk into the Dollhouse. Make sure you don't miss that, because you don't want to have to resize the Dollhouse to get back so that you can get that and the fire alarm here. I almost forgot about that too. But the smaller you are, the slower you move, which gets a little frustrating. Here's another fire extinguisher and another fire alarm. And we're going to walk out of the Dollhouse, make it bigger, walk back in, go through the little door next to the suitcases, and then this is the room you're going to meet here with the extinguisher and fire alarm there. There's nothing behind here. There's a couple rooms in this level that look exactly like this, so I was getting a little confused. Walk through here, which I will do in just a second. I was just making sure. Again, I'm always looking around to make sure I don't miss any of the fire alarms and fire extinguishers, because there's just so many.
Hello, my name is Dr. Glenn.
Another extinguisher.
In addition to continuing...
And you're going to go up a set of stairs and into another room where you have to go through... I believe this is when you go through the window. The fire alarm is there. And there's 2 collectibles in this room. There's a blueprint on top of this box. And one that I missed while I was in this room the first time. So I did have to come back and recapture this area. We'll see in just a second. But you can get it either from the box that the blueprint is on, or from the suitcase that's on the other side here. You just jump up and click on the collectible chess piece. I'm not even sure which piece that is. Here's the very frustrating blow-up castle that you have to make just the right size to get into this room. There's a fire extinguisher in there, and then you have to go through the duct. But before you do that and you move on to the next area, come back out, grab this, and bring it to the middle of this long hallway with lockers. And there is a platform hidden on this kind of MC Escher style hallway that is actually the ceiling. And there's your next blueprint. Then head back with the raft so that you can progress to the top level of that pool area. Once you walk through what looks like the top diving board, I guess, of the pool, there's a fire extinguisher here. And then this must be the next room that you enter. See, all these rooms look the same. Then you're going to come into this area where there are 2 doorways. You want to make this super small so it'll fit in the keyhole here. We're inside some kind of locked box here. So you want to make that there, and then you walk through it.
Congratulations.
And then you want to grab the one that you just walked through, and you want to angle it and position it so that you can get to the back corner of the room. On the other side of those boxes is the next blueprint. So what I do is I position it so that it's high enough, and it's going to fall very slowly, high enough in the air that we can kind of choose where we're going to land so that we can land on the blueprint. You see here I'm looking down, and it's falling very slowly, and I can see the blueprint there. And just to the left of us right now is the locked box that we were in, right there. Then go through the dollhouse again, and you'll be in the elevator hallway. Fire alarm and fire extinguisher here on the end. Now, if you can see, the dollhouse was so big, I was made so small that it takes so much longer to get down the hallway. This is something you want to make sure you do not do when you're working on your 35-minute speed run, which I have been able to finish. Just finished it last night, and I was happy to find out it's actually 35 minutes, not 30 minutes. Now, at the beginning of this labyrinth level here, you have to make sure that you get all of these extinguishers and that you go this path, because this is an actual timed area.
9, 8.
And if you miss any of these, you're going to have to replay the beginning of Labyrinth in order to get them. 2 extinguishers, then a fire alarm. I do apologize, I did pause a few times to make sure I wasn't missing anything. There's a second fire alarm, fire extinguisher on the other side of that doorway when you walk through it.
Hypothesis. Patient was improperly
around
oriented.
to the right.
Conclusion.
Turn around in this dark area here. There's a
Impossible.
fire alarm here.
Reformulating.
And at the end, what looks like the next elevator is the
Improved
last extinguisher.
Patient requires additional
And then once you reach
somnus
this
help
area,
Conclusion.
or at least by this
Emergency
point,
exit protocol cannot
the
proceed.
female
Emergency
voice
exit protocol
computer
has been emergency destroyed.
voice that sounds like Siri or Alexa
Instruction.
or
Continue
whatever
with
she sounds
somnus
like,
sculpt therapy
will
indefinitely
start
on an
talking about how it's
independent
time
basis, as
to
all orientation
restart
resources have
the
been exhausted.
the
This
orientation,
concludes your standard
protocol,
orientation protocol.
and then you will
Goodbye.
be warped back to the alarm clock. You'll have to click the alarm clock a few times. The door won't open until you click the alarm clock. And then it will start running you through this loop of hitting the fire alarm. Make sure that you come out here and hit the fire extinguisher and fire alarm before time runs out. This is another timed area. Hit it again. Walk out. And hit the extinguisher and the fire alarm one more time. I guess just the extinguisher. And then at this point, you're not going to have enough time to get to the extinguisher. And click it one more time, and then you'll have a shift in perspective. And the side of the wall will now be the floor. Go through it. And before you click on the alarm clock that's sitting on the chair there on the far left here, make sure that you get the extinguisher. And then just click on the alarm to get warped back into the bedroom. Now grab the painting on the wall here with the clouds. Put it in front of you in the hallway so that you can make it as big as possible. Or drop it like that and fail, like I did. There we go. One more time. Make it a little bigger. Do we fit in this one? I don't think we do. Yeah, we got to do one more time, and then we fit through. Once you get through here, get the fire alarm on the left-hand side. Nothing else in this room. Then we're going to kind of do another loop. We have a fire extinguisher here. Walk through. Make a left. There's a first fire alarm, a second fire alarm through the hallway, then another extinguisher,
My name is Dr. Glenn Pierce.
and
Thank you
the
for
same
completing
two
the
fire
Sculpt
alarms.
standard orientation protocol. Before you begin the first phase
Then
of
into the
therapy,
next
I'd
room.
like to briefly describe the
There's an
finite
extinguisher
and
here
fragile nature of the dream
On the
state.
right. Go right, and then as you walk down here, the perspective will shift again. Oftentimes you will not fall as far as you're supposed to, so you'll have to maneuver yourself a little bit and then walk towards the next room. But before you fall through the doorway here, make sure to hit the extinguisher, and then just to make things easier, grab the doorway, grab the door here before you fall into the room. There's an extinguisher here. You can remove that door, and then you're going to want to grab it and make it into a ramp. This was one of the more frustrating shifts I had to do here. I was looking around to make sure I didn't miss anything else because I did not want to have to do this again. Once you get into this room, there's a couple collectibles. There is a chess piece here in the window. Just click on it. And then at the end, there is a extinguisher. And then when you get into the hole here that you're supposed to go into, there's a fire alarm here above you and an extinguisher on the way out of the room. You're going to come to a big white area, and it's going to have a big crack here. Head through there, head through a dark room with pipes. Then you're going to come to this big orange room with this very well hidden fire alarm, and then walk through the crack. that is behind us at the moment. And you're going to fall in here. Use the giant staircase to make the panels fall apart, and make sure that you click on the extinguisher on the left hand of the room, left of the elevator, and the fire alarm right of the elevator. Sometimes the floor panels will fall and be in your way here, so just make sure that you know that those two things are there. Once you get in up and around the kind of weird looking pool room, make sure that you click on the fire alarm there. I'm grabbing a soda here. I'm going to use the die that I used to climb this area, the one that disappears then has a smile face on it. You're going to use the die and the soda can to get to the top of the scaffolding. You're going to have to repurpose the block a few times in order to get up here. I get a little lucky, usually not as smooth as it goes for me, and there's the blueprint. Back down in through the doorway. Then you're going to come to the room here with the chess piece that disappears, or becomes a painting, I guess you could say. There's a fire extinguisher there. Then the chess piece that you actually need to grab in order to get into the next room, you're going to use to get onto this pipe. And you're going to move to the other end of the room, and you're going to stand on the chess piece and jump until you can select what looks like a queen collectible chess piece. That one was one of the more harder ones as well, but you can see it's right above where you come in to this room. And then make sure that you get the extinguisher before you fall through the doorway here. Now, this next room, if you grab this die, you will get warped to the next room. So do not do that. Make sure you turn around, get the extinguisher, then head down the hallway here. And to your left is the next blueprint. I just wanted to get a better view of that. It's actually showing you the Whitespace level. Once you have that, grab the chess piece. It'll warp you to the white room. And behind you, there is a very hidden little pathway here. Just to the left of this piece of wood here that makes the fake elevator panel. Right in here, it's kind of hard to find. You gotta maneuver around. Inside this little floor area, there is your next constellation. I believe this is the keyboard. Nope, no, this is the light. Back up through that white area. Head up to where the bed is, which I guess I could have cut some of this out. I thought I did. I apologize. Alright, so back out the white. Use the block to get to the next level. Walk past the bed. And before you grab the block here, make sure that you get the extinguisher. This, unfortunately, I missed the first time. Extinguisher and fire alarm. I got it the first time. I missed capturing it. Somehow the video got lost, so I had to come back after I finished the game and get those two for the capture. Here's another extinguisher that I got. This is the next room after you get through that black and white long hallway. And then here is the room with the alarm clock. Make sure you get that fire alarm, and then click on the alarm clock, and that will send you into the elevator puzzle. Once you come out of the elevator, you'll be in this large area with all the street lights that will turn into a box. Before you walk to the opening in this room with the alarm clock to end the level, make sure you climb on top to get the final blueprint of the area. And now we are in Whitespace. So the first thing to do is grab the model of the Somnosculpt and make it large enough that you can walk through it, and then make it small enough again that you can put it back into the model. And here I didn't have the perspective correct, but we're going to need to explore the model house on the left here from our perspective. Behind the left part of the model, I'm sorry, the right. I apologize. Directions were never my forte. From this perspective, the model on the right is what we're going to need to go into the back of. There's a little hidden bar area here. So we're walking now in the model. And we're heading over here to the right. Inside. Now inside this bar area, there are, I think, 3 or 4 fire alarms. They are not collectibles. They're already all triggered. As you can see, here's the first one. I'm just exploring here. I could have cut some of this out, but Share Factory only lets you make so many clips, so I sometimes get a little thrifty with when I clip out certain areas. Here's another fire alarm. Again, these are not necessary for you to collect. So, in the back of the bar, right next to this sink here, we have a lot of glasses and soda cans, and hidden very well in behind all these soda cans is your next collectible chess piece. Once you got that, head on out of the model and resize the model of the Somnosculpt. Here I was making it bigger. You actually need to make it smaller. And bring it inside this room here and put it inside the soda machine. It's best to angle the doorway to the right, but either way, it doesn't really matter. Walk out and look around and look up at the ceiling. There's the next collectible chess piece. Head on out, and once you are in the right area, bring that model through the doorway and create a paradox, which will now begin the Whitespace part of the level. When you come to this fake house, climb on top of it and select the next blueprint.
By seeing it exactly the way I wanted to. Whitespace.
Another bit of extra footage there. Once you get to this room with all the file cabinets, it's kind of a little sepia tone, a little gray looking. There is a fire alarm here, which is your final fire alarm. And there are 2 fire extinguishers. Click this one. And then I think on the other corner of the room, yes, over here on the right, that is your final fire extinguisher. And there's your fire's extinguished trophy. Then head through the shadow of the file cabinet to progress through the level. Now here I accidentally went behind the exit door of this room, thinking that's where the blueprint was. It's actually as soon as you come into this room, head behind the doorway that you walked out of to find the next blueprint. I believe that's the second to last blueprint.
You're well beyond dreaming now. And
Then when you enter the little snowy area here with the giant chess formations, here I took a wrong turn and I had to backtrack. This is actually behind the doorway we just walked in, right behind the giant water cooler. So just head to the right and behind you to find this final blueprint, Feeling Blue. So right to our left here, you'll see the path that we saw as soon as we walked through the doorway that's now behind us. The next thing you're going to want to do is grab one of the chess pieces. Oh, no, I'm sorry. There's one more collectible to get. Our final constellation room. And that is just to the right of the doorway that we need to go through to progress to the chessboard. We will deal with that in just a minute. First, we're here in the final constellation room, and this is the one that's the keyboard. This one took a little bit of time. It's definitely a big shape. And like I said, eventually the game's like, you know what? Fine, you got it. Here it is. Good job. Move on. Make sure to click on it for it to count. And there is Stars Align, your final constellation. So go into the chessboard room, grab one of the chess pieces. They're both queens, kings. I can never tell the difference in a chessboard. I just know that the queen is usually taller. So I assume this is the queen. And then over here to the left of where we just walked in here, you'll see these giant panels. Behind us there is a little piece on the wall that looks kind of like two platforms or two pieces of drywall. And what you want to do is you want to make the chess piece into a ramp, or get on top of these areas, whichever way works for you. And then once you're up here, just walk around until you see the red pieces that are going to end up making your final chess piece and your final collectible of the game. Here you can see that is the top of the pawn that we need to make. And I actually went a little too far and had to backtrack here. Yep, now I'm returning back here and I'm noticing this area here. See this little red piece here? So walk down here, match up the shape so that it can turn into the pawn. It's a little fidgety. There you go, click on it, and that is your final collectible of the game, Chess Master. Hope this all helped. Stick around for more of these videos. Take care.